The night 3 cops tried to drown me in a stranger's swimming pool, I was not thinking about courage or justice or any big noble word like that. I was staring up at this blurry blue light on the bottom while my lungs burned, and the stupid thought in my head was, so this is how it ends in somebody else's backyard with my half-finished drink still sitting on the table. Yeah, that really happened. My name is Commander Tasha Cole on paper. I run training for a fighter wing and teach people how to stay alive when everything goes sideways. But none of that mattered with my wrists zip-tied behind my back, and 2 officers holding me under the water training does not erase fear. It just keeps you from handing your whole life over to it. That day had been basic in the most ordinary way, one of those hot North Texas Saturdays when the air feels like soup. My cousin had been on me for weeks, come to the cookout. You work too much, so I finally drove out to this quiet Dallas suburb. Neat houses, trimmed yards, a backyard full of folding chairs, kids running around with sticky faces. Someone arguing with the grill like the food could hear them, music too loud for the neighbors, but just right for us. I showed up in jeans and a dark green utility shirt because dressing casual is still a thing. I do badly grabbed a soda, leaned on the fence, let my shoulders drop, and for about 40 minutes I stopped being Commander Cole and just felt like Tasha again. Then the music dipped, not off just enough that laughter got sliced in half. If you have ever been at a black cookout when the cops roll up, you know that shift. You do not need to see the cars. Your body hears the tires on gravel, the doors, the radio chatter, and it is like somebody reaches in and squeezes the air out of the yard. 3 white officers came through the side gate like they were walking into a raid, not a family party, flashlights out, even though the sun was still hanging on hands heavy on their belts. The tall one, Officer Riker, let his beam sweep across everyone. Slow, holding it on. Faces a beat too long. "We got a call about a disturbance," he said. "Do you folks live here, or is this some kind of situation?" And that word situation dropped heavier than anything on the grill. My cousin Marcus did. What so many of us have been taught to do, stepped forward with his palms open, voice calm. "Yes, sir, this is my house. Yes, sir, we can turn it down. No problem." And that should have been the end of it. It was not because his partner, Officer Dalton, let his light land on me like he had been waiting to pick somebody out. "You green shirt ID," he snapped. Not a request, just a command. So I did the thing I have told younger cousins to do 100 times. I moved slow, said what I was doing, took my driver's license out, added my military ID without even thinking, and handed both over. He glanced at the first card, snorted, never even looked at the second, and in that one lazy second, 20 years of my life disappeared for him. "You live here?" he asked. And when I said, "No, sir, visiting family," he gave me that little gotcha smirk. "Then you are trespassing. If the owner did not personally invite you," he said, while Marcus is right there saying I did. We went in little circles, me asking what exactly am I being detained for, him defaulting to stop resisting like it was a reflex. Riker stepped in close enough that I could smell coffee and sweat and authority on his breath. "We can do this, the easy way or the hard way," he said. "Turn around." And when I asked again for what, he did not answer, he just nodded. They spun me around, yanked my arms back, and snapped a plastic zip tie around my wrist so tight my fingers went hot. Then numb pain shot up my shoulders. Someone behind us said, "This is too much," but nobody stepped between us. Fear has weight. It keeps your shoes stuck to the ground. Marcus forced his way closer, telling them she is my cousin, she is Air Force, she is good, the homeowner saying she belongs here, and they barely glanced over because in their minds I had already been filed under problem not guessed. Dalton leaned in so close I could feel his breath and muttered, "You want to keep running your mouth? We got space in the deep end." I thought it was just an ugly line. I did not understand how literal he was until they started walking me toward the pool. The yard got louder and quieter at the same time, voices rising, phones coming out. A little kid started crying. That bright hotel blue water looked almost fake under the lights, and Riker wore this bored, irritated look like he was wasting his Saturday on us. He leaned down and said, soft military, "Huh? Out here? You are just another attitude problem." Then he put both hands between my shoulder blades and shoved. Hitting that water knocked the air and the sense out of me for a second. The sky flipped, the deck vanished. Everything went blue and bubbles. My lungs clamped down on instinct. My brain started yelling, "Breathe," and my hands were locked behind me before I could even try to get my feet under me. 2 dark shapes slid in scuba masks, black suits, big hands on my shoulders driving me down harder. Later they would be described as some special unit trained for water rescues. All I knew in that moment was they were making sure I did not come back up under the surface. It is so quiet you can hear your own heartbeat. But inside your head, it is nothing but noise. And somewhere in that noise, all the drills I ever ran finally kicked in Count Orient Conserve. I forced my eyes open. Chlorine-burning lights making everything a harsh neon. The cop on my right kept fiddling with his mask like it was leaking. Distracted. The one on my left was all brute force and no control, grinding me into the tiles at the bottom like he was trying to prove a point. And above us, blurred through the water, I could see Riker standing at the edge with his arms folded, watching like this was a show he was directing. Time went strange, stretched out around the edges. My chest felt like it was on fire. And then there was this clear thought cutting through all the panic. This is how they erase you. Tasha, combative suspect, fell in the pool, drowned, case closed. No questions, just a line in a report. I knew if I blacked out down there, whatever they said next would be the truth for everybody who was not in that backyard, and that was not acceptable, not after everything I had survived for my country, and definitely not over a speaker and some ribs. So I did the last thing I had. The thing they show you once in the ugliest training scenarios. I twisted my wrists into the pain, instead of away, felt this sharp pop and a flash of white hot all the way up my arm. For a second the pain was the whole world, then I felt plastic give. My right hand slipped through the tie wrong and numb but free, and that little bit of freedom cracked their whole plan. After that, it is like a handful of photos. Someone dropped my elbow, slamming back into that leaky mask, the shock in his body when he flinched, his grip loosening by just enough, my feet finding the floor and pushing off with everything I had. Bubbles roaring past my ears, the taste of chlorine thick at the back of my throat, and then my mouth hitting air. Not in some slow-motion, heroic way. Just this ugly, desperate gasp at that thin line where water meets sky. My body still mostly under from the deck. It probably still looked like a drowning woman from my side. It felt like I had just grabbed onto the edge of the world. I stayed low and I listened. That part haunts me more than the water sometimes. How calm they sounded while I was still fighting for each breath. Riker saying she is fading, relax. Dalton chuckling. Hayes, the third one, sounding shaken, saying, "This is too much, man," and Riker cutting him off. She resisted. She tripped. We did what we had to. You could literally hear him practicing the story he was going to tell, building a version of the night with me at the bottom of the pool, and I knew if he finished that story with me still under, it would stick. So I changed it. I waited until my lungs shifted from burning to that scary, hollow feeling that says your body is almost done. Then I shot my free hand up and grabbed the nearest ankle on the edge. Later I saw it on video. 1 second, Riker is standing there dry and annoyed. The next second, he disappears into the deep end like a cartoon villain, boots radio, and Ollie hit the water beside me with a splash and a curse, and that backyard finally snapped all the way awake. People screaming, kids crying, phones whipping toward the pool, like everyone remembered at once that recording matters. Up on the deck, Dalton's hand went straight to his gun, and for one long heartbeat, I honestly thought this is where they finish the story and call it self-defense, but Marcus's skinny teenage nephew reached out, grabbed that gun arm with both hands and dragged it down. I do not think he had a plan, his body just moved and that one panicked kid changed the ending. I came up again this time, all the way to the surface, hair plastered to my face, one arm hanging wrong, the other still buzzing. Hayes grabbed for his radio, eyes wide, and I slapped it out of his hand so hard it skidded across the concrete. Do not you dare call this in and say I slipped. I told him, my voice shaking but plenty loud, and I saw it, that flicker of doubt, the moment he realized this was not going to be easy to clean up. Riker came up coughing, dragging himself toward the shallow end, still trying to put his authority back on like a soaked jacket. "Get on the ground," he wheezed, pointing at me, even though he was the one on his knees. I backed toward a pool chair and kept it between us like a plastic shield. "You shoved me into a pool with my hands tied over a noise complaint," I said on camera, in front of all these people. "You sure you want to keep giving orders?" And for the first time, he actually looked around. Dalton, of course, went straight to rage baton out, veins jumping in his neck, yelling "stop," resisting at a woman who was literally just standing there dripping. He swung hard and sloppy, and muscle memory did the rest. I stepped in, grabbed the baton with my good hand, and suddenly we were nose to nose, both hanging on. "Let go," he hissed. "Spit flying, you first," I told him. And we stood there, locked up, hearts pounding, and I watched it click in his face. That awful realization that the person he had written off as weak was not folding. Hayes finally did the small, brave thing. He stepped between us, voice cracking as he said, Enough, this is already bad." Dalton looked at him like he had betrayed the whole badge. Riker hauled himself out of the pool again, muttering about charges, and people like me, always playing victim, went for his radio one more time, and none of the neighbors moved to help him. When backup shoved through the gate vests on eyes wide, it was over. I was at the far end of the yard with a towel around my shoulders, Marcus's truck keys digging into my palm, my heart still doing double time. One of the new guys took in the soaked uniforms, the crying kids, the row of phones pointed at his coworkers. "Ma'am, we got a call about officers needing assistance," he said, and I looked him in the eye and said, "Yeah, looks like they did." Then I walked right past him and out the gate because I had survived them once that night, and I was not going to hand them another chance. After that, it was fluorescent lights and beige room statements and lawyers and emails with subject lines like incident review, body cam footage pulled, and somehow a few minutes going missing. Funny how that works. Good thing. The homeowner's cameras did not lose anything. Internal Affairs opened a file. The chief called my commander before he called me, which told me exactly who he thought needed to be managed. A few weeks later, there was a settlement offer and a very careful apology full of phrases like "unfortunate" and "does not reflect our values," never once actually saying 3 of our officers tried to drown you in a backyard. Riker and Dalton were disciplined. That was the word. Not fired, not charged, disciplined. Hayes resigned quietly. The footage leaked eventually, and the internet did what it always does. Some people called me a hero. Some said I should have just complied, and none of this would have happened. Some insisted there had to be more to the story, because it is easier to make up a reason than accept what you are seeing. Everybody had an opinion about what I should have done: hit them harder, hit them less, refuse the money, take the money, press charges, forgive, forget. You know what I mean? People get real loud about survival when it is not their lungs filling with pool water. The truth I carry is smaller and heavier than all that commentary standing in that stranger's backyard that night, soaked and shaking with my heart trying to punch its way out of my chest. I did not feel like a warrior or a victim. I felt tired of being read as a threat first and a person second. Tired of knowing that if I had not had my rank, my ID, and a yard full of witnesses and cameras, my name might have been nothing but a line in some report about a woman who made bad choices at a party. So I did what made sense to me. I took the settlement. I pushed for the footage to stay public. I made sure that if anyone told this story, they got my name right. That is my line in the sand. You do not have to agree with it, but you were not the one at the bottom of that pool. So now I am passing the hard questions to you. Picture that backyard, the string lights, the kids, the music turning into sirens and shouting. Picture 3 officers walking a black woman in a green shirt toward the deep end with her hands tied behind her back. Picture them shoving her into the water because she dared to ask why. Picture her coming back up and grabbing onto air and onto her own story. And then tell me, if you had been there with no badge and no rank, what would you have done? Would you have filmed, yelled, stepped in, jumped in? Do you think I went too far? Not far enough. Should I have pushed for charges instead of walking away? Is any apology big enough? When the people who swear to protect you are the same ones trying to hold you under, drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what justice looks like to you, what you have seen, what you have lived. Because until we can even agree on that, none of us are really safe when those blue lights roll up the driveway.